In this week's Ask an Expert discussion, I'm joined by Denis Ouimet, an architecture professor with Collège Boréal in Sudbury. Denis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So in this episode, we're talking trends in architecture. So let's start by discussing how things have changed over time.
Well, things always change over time because society changed and economy changed. So we always follow what's going on in the economy and the society.
So what are the current trends that we're seeing in new builds?
We have tools now that allow us to do things we were not able to do before. Like you just take the example of a 3D printer.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
It's done by one person. He creates a prototype of what he wants and what he would like to see. But so the influence of the one person on the architecture is big. We have the tools in architecture that we draw things digitally, and we have tools to fabricate digitally. So that's the new trend. Anything was going to be done, not mass production, but done in a unique way. One person's need, one person's wishes will be responded by the computer, by the digital fabrication.
Technology, just incredible. So I also want to talk a little bit about the importance of preserving historic builds and historic plans. Tell us about that.
Well, I think everything's part of us. So if something is significant to us, we have to preserve it so we can communicate. I think we have great projects who exist, who you cannot get rid of. It's the same thing with like a family photo, right? You don't want to throw the memory of your parent because of a new child had, right? You want to preserve building.
Finally, I want to just talk a little bit about the importance of studies and community-led projects.
We've been doing research on environmental construction for the last few years, and now we receive a grant to build a tiny home. So the Collège Boréal are setting themselves up to build a tiny home. And there's quite a few in the community who are doing the same project. There's Habitat for Humanity are working on something parallel to us. But the main one for us is that project that we are trying to prove that we can build other things than just suburban stuff.
Well, as costs rise, we know that tiny homes are becoming a lot more important.
So. It is the reason to build a tiny home because we want to create an alternative of do you need to have $500,000 or $600,000 to build a home? I think, personally, if a student who just graduate could build a tiny home for $100,000, $125,000 and then have a mortgage for less than $500 a month, it's a very good way to build equity. So you come out of college, build a tiny home, live in a tiny home for 5 years, get married, and then you sell the tiny home because the tiny home is not that big, right? It's under 400 square feet. So when you're two-person in there, definitely not with a child. So, but it's a good way to go from zero to a home that is more common today.
Absolutely. And when do you think that your tiny home will be completed?
Well, we have 3 years.
Okay.
So we are a school and we're doing research. So when we do research, we question everything. We verify everything. So we don't build just for speed. So
slow and steady wins the race.
Slow and steady and speed and question everything. Yeah.
Thank you for this, Denis.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate your time. Denis Ouimet, an architecture professor with Collège Boréal in Sudbury.